Hello Nespians, welcome back to the Nespa. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here. Happy Sunday to you. I really hope you are enjoying your weekend so far. If it's your first time here and you're not sure what's going on with this whole KonMari thing that we keep talking about, or maybe you just want to get caught up to where we are in the process so far, I will leave a link on screen to the KonMari Quest playlist. There you'll find an overview and introductory video where we explain exactly how this is all going to go down, and you will find every KonMari video that's been posted in order all the way up until today. And today marks the start of phase 2 of the KonMari Quest for us here, the books phase. The books phase of this process took NESTube and I 1 day to complete. Now that's in contrast to the clothing phase, which took me about 5 days to complete. I'm not going to say that I didn't take the clothing process as seriously, because I definitely went into it with the goal of being true to the recommendations set out in Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. But I will say that I was definitely not prepared for the scope of the undertaking. I was more prepared for the books process. My books collection is nowhere near as big as my clothing collection, but still I think I knew that in starting the books phase of this process that it was time to get down to business. There would be no distractions, no dawdling. I was single-mindedly focused on getting these books together, going through them, discarding, getting it done, reshelving them, and being done with it. No sleeping on the couch for us, which is great. Very similar to the clothing phase of the process, Marie recommends subdividing your books into 4 separate categories: general, or books for pleasure reading; practical, or reference style books; visual, like collections of photography; and magazines. As I began to gather my books and separate them out into the different subcategories, I realized that the largest part of my collection was my music books and scores. And initially I was sorting those out into the practical category, but as I went on in the process, I realized that those books, being as specialized as they are, for me made the most sense to be sorted into a category of their own. So I ended up making a 5th subcategory, music, for myself. One aspect of the book collection process that I was not ready for was how heavy books are and how exhausting it would be to lug my books up 1 to 2 flights of stairs into our bedroom to sort them. Looking back, if I had known how exhausting that was going to be, I would have changed the location that I used to gather all of the books and to go through this process. I definitely wouldn't recommend gathering your books in a location that is going to require you to use a lot of stairs. You can definitely do multiple trips and bring just a few books in your arms. I used laundry baskets and they got really heavy really quickly. So something to consider for when you go through this books process yourself. I was genuinely surprised at how much I learned about myself going through the books sorting process specifically. My general category of books that you see piling up here on screen is largely made up of old novels and textbooks from my years at school. In general, the books that I'm noticing I gravitate towards are self-help books, non-fiction books, and I've sorted a lot of those into the practical subcategory of books. Then, of course, we have my additional music category with all of my musical scores, pedagogical literature, arias, and songs that I had photocopied, and also for music that I hoped to learn one day myself, And I did also have a couple of picture books and a couple of interesting magazines, but definitely the bulk of my collection is my music books and the practical category. And there you have it, my entire book collection gathered and dumped conveniently once again on my bed. The largest category here is absolutely my music books. You can see it spans all the way to my pillows across 3 different rows of piles behind the visual and the magazines even. This is going to be the most time-consuming part of the process for me because I am looking to donate a large part of this collection, and so there is going to be a little bit of extra work involved there. One additional thing to consider, if you're planning on donating some of your items instead of just throwing everything away, is that donation process is going to add an extra step or 2 to this process, where it's fairly straightforward to take a garbage bag or a recycling bag to the curb. It's another thing entirely to sort your items for donation and decide where they are going to go and how you're going to get them there. And that right there marks the end of the gathering and sorting phase for the books category. Next week, we will pick right up where we left off and continue on with the evaluating or sparks joy phase of the process. Thank you all again so much for hanging out with me. At the very worst, I hope you're finding this KonMari series interesting and at best, inspiring. Looking forward to picking up next week with all of you and maybe seeing you around the interwebs. Thanks again for being here. Have a lovely rest of your weekend. See you very soon. Bye.